I thought I wanted to give you some updates and some insights and things that I've been learning the last couple of months, the last actually 30 days, especially about AI marketing in 2026 and how it can really help your business. So, if you have a chance to watch through this, I think you'll find some value in it. We did a session like this last year, but a lot of this stuff has been updated and improved since then. So, if you got a little bit of time, watch through this video, put it on while you're working and listen through, and it's just going to help you to basically upscale your marketing for your HVAC company, plumbing company, any kind of service business really in 2026. All right, so let's get rolling. So why I think AI is the next big thing, or really I think it's already here. It's not the next big thing. It's already operating in our lives and it's becoming really just a part of what we do in every facet of life. But these are the reasons why I think it's so important to understand it, to know about it. So first of all, people are willing to test it out. You might have noticed more and more people mentioning ChatGPT or using it as a tool in their life. They're willing to adopt it. Basically, that's something that's a bit different to other technologies. In the past, it used to take a long time for us to start using technologies. It's getting faster and faster. Probably the biggest thing that's changing in 2026 is that AI is now speeding up and removing all the mundane tasks that you used to have to do yourself. There's a lot of automation, a lot of agentic tools, which I'll talk about a little bit in this a bit later, but it's really helping us to remove a lot of the grunt work and the boring things from our lives. The other thing that's really important is that it synthesizes human knowledge and data. So it's not just taking what people write on the internet and taking it as truth, which is what Google kind of used to do. It's really synthesizing the knowledge that humans share as well as statistics and data and information. So it's a more kind of balanced, nuanced way of seeing the world. It's not as biased, if you like. And the most important thing I think now is that it can be customized to a high degree. And I'm going to explain why I think that's important later, because you'll find that the more you customize it for yourself and the more you think about how your customers are customizing it, which is an important thing, I think you'll find that it actually helps you to grow in your business. A little bit of a jargon check. There's a lot of different terms that you might have heard or might be starting to hear in the next 6 to 12 months around AI. So I'll run through these pretty quickly. Some of them don't really matter, but I just want to have them here in case you ever hear them. So AGI is artificial general intelligence. When people say AI, that's kind of what they're referring to, the idea that a synthesized or a synthetic intelligence can actually do things on our behalf or learn things that can then teach us things like that. So there's more specialized intelligence, things like chess players that can beat human chess players, or tools that can make music or things like that, or AI video creators. But the artificial general intelligence is the tool over the top. It's kind of the thing that can manage all those information or specialist tools. So that's a big part of what we're going to see, I think. Probably in the next, I would say, 2 to 3 years, we're going to see a very powerful push forward in AGI. But for now, it's kind of in little pieces. GPT, you'll hear a lot, ChatGPT. Obviously, that stands for Generative Pre-trained Transformer. You don't really have to worry about all those individual things, but that's what it means. That just essentially, it's the way the model is built, and they're all a little bit different. Some of it we don't know really how it's working, and the AI itself is actually starting to update itself. So LLM, it's a large language model. That is actually what you interact with most of the time. So your ChatGPT, Claude, Gemini, those tools, they're actually large language models, meaning they can understand sentences and context and things like that. So it's very different to what Google used to do, which is just punch in a couple of keywords. It would rank it against whatever it had in line with those keywords. Now they actually understand what you're talking about a lot of the time. Algorithm or code, you might hear sometimes, those are essentially the rules or the recipe that the computer uses to understand things. Used to be more important for SEO, not so much anymore, but it can be relevant. Agentic AI, this is a really big one that you're going to hear more about, I think, in the next, I would say 12 months especially, and it's just going to become part of society. So that's the ability for AI to take on tasks on your behalf. And I'm going to explain how I think that works. And so you'll have an example of that, but agentic AI is definitely going to become something we hear more about. Vibe coding. This is one that's just popped up recently, and this is really letting the AI tools build software on your behalf. So instead of you having to know how to code or hire a developer, which can be very expensive, you can just essentially use tools like Claude Code or ChatGPT's Codex or even something called anti-gravity from Google Gemini. Those tools will let you actually build software and tools that are bespoke and unique to your business. And I think that's going to become more and more important as time goes on. Tokens, you'll hear, that's essentially the cost of using AI. So it's kind of like the measurement of the use, and it's how it processes info and tasks. So it goes through and it uses tokens to understand each word that you write, even the things like the commas and the separations. When it sends out to research and review things, it's using tokens. And it used to be that tokens were very, very expensive initially. Now they're becoming cheaper as time goes on. So that means the access to it is much cheaper as well. And finally, context window. This is the amount of information that an AI can hold on to at once. It used to be that it had a very limited amount. Now it can hold millions and sometimes billions of pieces of information at once. And that's really important because that creates that synthesis, that understanding at a higher level of what it's doing. And it helps it to have much more accurate and nuanced and much more intelligent responses to everything we're doing. So I know these are a lot and I don't expect you to remember them. I just wanted to put them here because you will hear them more and more. And the more of these jargon terms you understand, the less likely you are to get duped by marketing agencies or other people who are more technically advanced. And they're important to remember. Most important, I would say right now, is remember Agentic AI, and also I would say probably GPT, LLM, and AGI. All right. 4 AI tools to look at. So you've probably heard of most of these. I just want to put them out here. ChatGPT is the current leader, and I'm going to show you a graph, basically who is ranking the highest in terms of use. I read something the other day that said 91% of business leads currently come from ChatGPT if they're coming from AI. That will probably change a lot over the next 6 to 12 months as well. But ChatGPT is currently the leader in human to AI interactions. People use ChatGPT the most. Claude, however, is starting to climb the ranks and has basically doubled their user base in the last 60 days. They, in most people's opinion, are the best at writing, at coding, and quality outputs. So if you use ChatGPT and you try something like Claude, you'll notice a difference in the way that they respond to you and the quality of what they do. I've been using Claude a lot more, and I've found that it's actually quite a pleasant experience compared to other tools. Gemini, which is owned by Google, is a really important one to keep an eye on because it's integrated with all the Google Workspace tools. So your Gmail, your Google Calendar, your Google Docs, Google Sheets. It's also linked to all the things like the LSA ads and the PPC ads and Google search. So the more we use Google in an AI agentic way, the more this is going to become important. The other thing with Gemini, which is important, is that it's multimodal, meaning that it can understand images and video, and it has a lot of tools that can actually help you to kind of, enhance your image or your business if you use them the right way with AI. And fourth, we have Perplexity. Now, this one is more like an AI search engine than an AI tool per se. It's the least used of the 4, but it's focused more on deep research and trying to understand the nuance and, like I was saying earlier, the synthesis of information. So it might be in the coming years that people turn more to Perplexity for understanding things, kind of like we used to do with Wikipedia, versus just searching for something quickly. You're going to go to ChatGPT or Claude or Gemini. So time will tell. But those are the top 4. This is just a quick graph that I put together this morning. I actually asked Claude to put this together for me, and it did. And this shows the growth of these chatbots from 2023 down up to 2026, at the start of 2026. And you can see ChatGPT is by far in the lead. It's gone from 200 million users to almost 1 billion users over the last 3 years. But you can see there's a steady climb, especially in Gemini the last year or so, and Claude especially. If that graph keeps going, it'll probably spike up a lot more for Claude. This will show you market share as well. And you'll see here that back in 2023, ChatGPT was basically the only game in town. It had close to 90% market share, with Claude having a little bit. Notice how Gemini had none until mid-2023, and look at the growth of it now in 2026. And that is because Google is starting to implement Gemini into all of its tools. So if you open your Gmail now, you'll notice there's an option to talk to Gemini in there. Google Sheets, Google Docs, Calendar, even the Google video streaming platform, all those kind of things, Google Meet, YouTube, it's all integrated into the way we use the web. And so that's becoming an important thing. So that's just good to keep an eye on, because I suspect over the next 6 months, it's going to become very even between Claude and Gemini and ChatGPT. Perplexity, we'll see what happens there. It is a 4th player, but maybe it's not as relevant to the others because of things like agentic AI, but we will see. All right, let's move forward now into the 4 uses for AI that I can see. There's probably a lot more than this, but these are the ones that I think will help you the most in your business, and to think about how you can start to kind of maximize or extrapolate the most value from AI. So the first is research and summarizing. You've probably done this already. You type something in there, you ask it a question, it will come back with a synthesized answer and it will summarize things for you. Pretty obvious, right? That's the one I think the majority of people out there today use AI for, but it's just scratching the surface of what it can do. The second is writing and editing. A lot of people now I hear will say, "Oh yeah, I use ChatGPT to write my emails, or to write a cover letter for a resume, or something like that, or to respond, or write a document or something like that." So writing and editing is becoming more and more common for these tools. But again, that's just scratching the surface of what it can do. But they are pretty damn powerful if you give them a go. Automation of work tasks. This is the really interesting one that I think we're going to see over the next 6 months. People starting to really think about, what tasks can I offload to these AI tools, and what can I get them to do for me? As I mentioned just before, Gemini has started to implement a lot of AI tools into all of its workspace systems. So Gmail, Calendar, Sheets, Docs, Google Meet, all those kind of things are now starting to use automation, and it's starting to do things for you. It's still a little bit clunky, and it's not able to send emails and things like that on your behalf, but it is able to kind of summarize and help you speed up the amount of time you spend in these tools. So I think it's an exciting thing. There's also a really cool tool inside Claude called Cowork, which I'm experimenting with right now. And as the months go on, I'll report back on that. And then there's really sort of out there advanced tools like OpenClaw that are basically running your entire computer system. They have a lot of safety and security risks right now, but the automation world is on the move. So over the next 6-12 months, I think we're going to see a big push towards this automation versus just the research, summarizing, writing, and editing. And the last one is customized experiences. And this is something I think once we really have agentic AI working in our lives and people get comfortable with it, same as they're comfortable using Facebook or Google or YouTube or whatever, we're going to see customized experiences start to happen. So let's talk about this a little bit so I can try to explain what I think customized experiences with agentic AI means. So it used to be if someone needed your service, let's say you're a HVAC contractor, the guy on the left in the blue shirt is basically a customer who has a pain point. Maybe his AC system broke down in the middle of summer. And so what he has to do is figure out how to find a person who can fix it. So he used to go to the yellow pages, really old school, or he would ask a friend, or he would remember a phone number from a billboard or whatever. He would get the phone number, he would call the HVAC contractor, which would be you, and you would say, "Sure, let me book you in for next Tuesday. I'll see you there." And that was the whole process. That's how it worked for probably 80 years, up until about 10, 15, maybe 20 years ago now. It flipped to this, right? Where instead of just looking for a referral or a yellow pages ad or a billboard or something like that, we would just go to Google. And more it's becoming that we go to our phones more so than just our computers. But you can see how this worked. So you had to have a Google business profile. You had to have good reviews. You had to have a website. You had to show up in all the different search directories and things like that, so that you could be found, so that person could still contact you. And they didn't have to just call. They could email you, they could text you, that kind of thing. So this is how it has been working probably for the last, I would say, 7 to 10 years. But it's about to shift, I think, in the next, I'll be conservative and say 2 to 5 years, could be sooner than that. And this is how I think it's going to work. So essentially, you will have an agent, an agentic AI that works on your behalf and does the research for you, does the selecting for you. So you will talk to your phone or laptop or agentic AI tool, and you'll say, "Hey, my AC system isn't working. It's 95 degrees in my house. What the hell can I do?" And it will say, "Oh, you know what? Let me go and find you a contractor and figure all this out for you. I'll look for someone who's local. I'll look at their reviews. I'll make sure that they're experienced and they're knowledgeable. I will speak to their agentic tool and I will get it scheduled for you." So all you'll do is talk to your AI, which your AI will then go over and talk to the company's AI. The HVAC contractor will have their own version of this. Now, it might be built into a CRM system. It might be just something that they've built, a custom software. But essentially, they will have an AI tool that will look at scheduling, will look at the services available, will look at the technicians that are available that day. And those two AIs will talk to each other And one will say, hey, my human needs this service. What do you have available? And they will say, sure, my human team of contractors have this available. Let's book it. And that's all. The big arrows in the middle is all that will happen between the two. So on the HVAC contractor side, they'll get a notice saying, guess what? You have to go and see this client at this address for this service next week on Tuesday. And then the human on the other side, the customer will get a message from their AI saying, hey, you booked in, the person will arrive at 9 o'clock next Tuesday. It's going to cost $150. And if there's a repair, they'll waive the fee or whatever. So it will know all this information. So this sounds really cool and exciting, but the problem is in the middle here, we don't have a lot of control over what they decide to actually do, right? So these two agents are kind of working on our behalf, and it seems very convenient on both sides, but we really don't know how they're discerning and they're deciding who they should trust and who they should call. That's why it's a little difficult to actually understand how this is going to work and to really be ahead of the curve with it. But think in terms of agentic AI when you're thinking about, okay, how can I start to grow my business? Think in terms of AIs working on behalf of people and making those decisions. So, with this in mind, let's think about how AI is affecting marketing and specifically service business marketing, because this is going to change a lot over the next 6-12 months. Again, could be sooner, could be a little longer, but that's my estimate. So, the first thing is that AI is very focused on what they call citations and mentions and sentiment. I won't go into huge detail here, but essentially it will cite you or it will list you as an authority when it thinks that you have some value or some knowledge or experience in that area. And then if it needs to, it will actually mention your website. So for things that are more informational, so, why does my AC system keep making a lot of noise? Why is it always seeming to turn on and off in the middle of the night or something like that? It will say, according to ABC Heating and Cooling, the reason could be because of something called short cycling. And it will give you a citation for being the authority. That's different to having a link. If someone says, find me a HVAC company in Long Beach, California, who can come out tomorrow morning, it will say, here's the top 5 that I found based on reviews and availability, and I think you should have a look at these, and it will have links to you. So those are mentions. So we definitely want citations, but we also want mentions, because the mentions will lead to more clicks to our website. Eventually, we may not even need to click because the agentic AI will do it on our behalf, but for this phase, we need to have the mentions. The last thing is sentiment, and this is the hardest one to understand because these tools are very new. But the idea is, what does the public or the other people besides you out there in the world say about your brand and your business? So there's a kind of a sentiment, a feeling, a sense of who you are as a brand and what you can do and what you can offer. If you ever go onto the tool Nextdoor and you notice people when they say, hey, I need to find a roofer in my local area or a local gardener or whatever. If you read the comments, people will say, call my friend Johnny. He's great. You can really trust him. Or I used, XYZ painters and they were really fast and on time and they were really friendly and helpful. Great price, great value, whatever. All those descriptions that they're using is the sentiment that people have about your brand. And those are the things that we can't control. They're outside of our internal control. In some ways, obviously, we can offer great customer service and make the systems and things frictionless, but really it's what people are saying about us. And this is what's so hard about AI marketing as opposed to just typical SEO or PPC or whatever, because we have to actually think about what's the sentiment about our business. What this leads to is something called zero-click behavior. You're going to hear this more and more, where people don't actually click anything. They just go into their tool, their ChatGPT, their Claude, their Gemini, and they just go, cool, good to know, and they don't click to your website. So you will see your website clicks going down, but you will still get calls and emails and things like that from these companies because the information is being shared directly inside these apps. Also, the other things that are important here are that the apps, as I mentioned before in the previous slide, they're kind of vetting and deciding on behalf of customers. They're not booking as yet, but they're still vetting and deciding, and they're kind of superseding the human trust element. So they're deciding on our behalf, this company is trustable, and that's really important. The other parts of this that I'm noticing are that we're automating a lot of PPC, local service ads, and social ads through algorithms. So they're starting to understand better than us what we want and what we need, and is serving it up in our ads and in our social media and things like that. And that is creating what they call custom and tailored experiences. So it's, if you go on to, say, if you go into your own YouTube channel, it will look very different than if you log into my account and look on mine. You look at mine and think, what the hell is all this stuff? I don't know any of this stuff, because it's very custom and tailored to my interests and what I like to watch versus yours. So this is really affecting the way that people are experiencing the world. And as I was saying there, it's vetting and deciding on behalf of customers what they should like, what they should choose, and starting to supersede that human trust element in some ways. So this is a big thing, and it's not really measurable as much as it is just a trend that's starting to happen. But there are tactics that we can work on to try and kind of ride the wave, if you like. All right. I know we've gone through a lot so far, so let's keep going. So 4 ways to adapt to AI marketing. There's 5. Look at that. I forgot to update that. There's 5 here. So the first is to display your local presence, authority, and credibility. So things like your Google business profile, Angie or Yelp reviews, Better Business Bureau, things like Nextdoor comments, social media comments, community activities, anything that you can do to show that you are present in a local area, you're an authority, and you have credibility. People trust you, people know you, people have worked with you. Anything you can do to display that to the AI tools, the more likely they are to give you those mentions and those citations and to raise the sentiment. Okay, so it's really, really important today to ask for Google reviews, to make sure all of your information is exactly the same on all websites, to make sure that those reviews have specific details about, they were fast, they were friendly, they were affordable, they were on time, they answered all my questions, they didn't try to sell me something I didn't need, whatever. So this is really, really key as we go through. So the next one is answer-driven content. We've talked about this before, but the idea is that on your website, you should have things that follow that they ask you answer format. If you're getting the same question over and over and over again from your customers, make sure you write content pieces, and ideally you record videos and audio content that actually helps you to answer those questions in that format. Not only will that help people to stay on your website longer, but it will also help the AI tools to kind of pull on that information and start to synthesize it into their mentions and citations. Really key. The third thing is to add more humanness to your brand. You'll notice that a lot of content these days, especially for service businesses, is very generic. And I harp on this all the time to my clients, is make sure you're displaying who you are. So if you're a local person and you have certain places you love to go, or you're involved in the community in some way, or you have passions of your own that are outside your work, show those things as part of your brand wherever you can. You'll find that this actually helps to add an element that is kind of uncopyable to your business, and it makes you stand out against all the other competitors in your area who have just got a generic kind of service brand. Number 4 is to use AI for automation where you can. So start thinking 80-20. Okay, so if you can let the AI tool do something 80% of the way, trust it and let it do it. It is far more intelligent and perceptive and competent than you actually realize. And most of the time, it can do about 80% of the work. And then you can choose to do the 20% of editing and refinement and discernment at the end. If you think in this way, you will revolutionize the way you work. I've probably cut right now about 25 to 30 hours a month out of my actual work because I've started to think 80-20 with AI automation. The quality hasn't gone down because I still focus on the 20 at the end, and I actually teach the tool how to do a better job, kind of like I would a team member, but I'm focused on automating everything I'm doing. And you can do that with your marketing, you can do that with a lot of processes in your business, but the more you use the automation, the more likely you are to get to the market faster, to speed up your quality, the service that you do, and to actually increase the quality as long as you're doing the last 20%. And the final idea, number 5, is to go old school where you can. So this means getting out in the community, shaking hands, being at events, talking to people, getting normal referrals from people. If you're in a local neighborhood taking care of one person's house, go and knock on the doors around and just say, hey, we're here today. Tell us if we're too loud or our trucks are parked in the way, and let us know if we can help with anything. If you have questions about your AC system or your plumbing, or you have any electrical issues, whatever, mention that to people when you get there, and you'll find that old school approach actually helps to build that sentiment and that online authority and credibility as well. So don't just give up on doing those things. They're actually just as important in the world of AI marketing, because they do kind of trickle up or down, however it works. They rise back to the AI tools where they see the sentiment increasing. So here's 5 ways that you can adapt. Some of them we're already doing, some of them we just need to kind of lean into more as the years go on. This I've shown you before. This is essentially my map of the different types of marketing you can do. Now at the top it says HVAC, but you could use it for plumbing, for electrical, for any kind of services business. On the left-hand side, obviously, it's more time and less money, more effort is needed. This is the kind of things I'm talking about where you go old school. Okay, you spend time in your community, you're doing customer referrals, you're going back and visiting your customers twice a year, all those kind of things, very real world. In the middle is more of the conventional type of organic marketing. So having a website, ranking for SEO, having social media, your Google business profile, email and text marketing, and business directories. That stuff is essential today if you want to be known as an authority and someone of credibility in your local market. And again, in 6 to 12 months, this might be the pillar that changes the way the sentiment is about your business. So don't sleep on this. If you find that you're struggling with it, reach out to someone who actually knows what they're doing, whether it's me or it's someone else in the industry, and say, I need to make sure these things are actually showing that I'm a local authority who has credibility, who is trustable. That's really key. And the last one on the right-hand side, which is advertising, which costs more money than time. This is very tempting to just lean into, but honestly, the problem with it is, even though it will get you leads in the short term, you have to keep paying. And companies like Google love it when you do that, when you use their LSA or PPC platforms, or even Yelp or Angie. They'll happily take your money to rank you a little bit higher, but you never own that trust. You never own that visibility unless you keep paying. And so it can be a little bit of a trap. I'm not saying don't do it, but keep it as the third thing you do. Focus on the 2 on the left a little bit more, and you'll find that I think will lean in more to the way AI marketing is going. All right, last thought I have for you today. You probably know the movie Jaws, and I made this little meme, I guess, my own little version of this here to kind of display, I think, the feeling that people have about AI right now. So very often when you talk to people out there in the world, they're saying, oh no, the robots are going to take over. It's going to be like Terminator 2 or the Matrix or something like that. And it's like this big foreboding thing is coming for us. And we're like the, poor person swimming in this unknown ocean, and there's this danger. And I thought Jaws was a good example of that. I saw a funny meme a couple of months ago, and it was kind of a parody of Jaws. And the thing was that in this video, everyone in the town of the village where the shark was terrorizing them was saying, "Oh my goodness, this shark, it keeps attacking everyone. It's so dangerous." And then one person just said, "Well, why don't we just stay out of the water? Why don't we just not go in the ocean?" And everyone said, No, we can't do that. We have to keep going in our boats and swimming." And the person said, "Well, I'm just going to go in my swimming pool. So you guys have fun, but I'm just going to be in my swimming pool." And I thought this is a good way to frame how we should think about AI and the impending risks and danger and fear that comes with it. Yes, if we stay in the huge ocean and we're like everybody else, very often we will start to suffer because of the problems and the risks and the kind of impending doom that can be out there. But if we build our own little community, our own little swimming pool, if you like, that all of our customers are in, that's going to change the game, and we're not at so much risk. So what do I mean by this? If you look at this list on the right-hand side, you can see building relationships, becoming the trusted advisor, having a unique brand with humanness, having maintenance plans, having upsells and special offers, using your emails and texts and social media. Those are all within your power, and it keeps your community in your pool. It keeps them safe and with you versus them swimming in the wider ocean looking for, just another company every time. The other things that are part of this, the structure that's underneath, is having a helpful website, having ease of booking, and removing friction. And I think as time goes on with AI automation, that stuff will actually take care of itself and will help you to have your own pool or your own community, your own safe place for all your customers. So more than anything else, think about in the next 6 to 12 months, how can I build my pool? Once I get customers in the door, how can I keep those customers? How can I keep them trusting me and keep growing? And that will help you to set up the right mindset on top of all this that I think will help you succeed. So last question for you today is, what will you do differently this year? Because one of the big risks I think we have in the world today is that just standing still is no longer good enough. You have to keep advancing and adapting and evolving in your business. And unfortunately, the way that the world is going, those who don't adapt and don't acknowledge this change are going to get left behind. I keep saying 6 to 12 months. It could be longer than that before these tools really take hold. but I want to encourage you to think now about what you can do. So if you have questions or you have things that you need help with, just let me know. I'm always available. Reach out to me here or reach out to me through my email, and I'll answer any questions you have around AI or the ways that you can work. But I encourage you to really think of this as something that you can adopt and you can use to your advantage in the future. So, my friend, thank you for watching. Appreciate you. I'll see you all in the next one very soon. This is Daniel signing off. Have a great day.